And we've got a couple of issues to go over. We usually do roll first, but I can see a lot of people probably didn't make it because they're probably so busy doing things. But I do want to give Liz and Matt a chance to talk about the IDF committee and what kind of things are going to be ramping up as far as handling that. And then Cheryl and I both have something to say about Dean Peters. There's an information technology committee that's going on like now and that Brian has to talk about. And then we have, you see the follow-up about GAs versus student workers. Somebody emailed us. Yes, okay. Yes. And then the graduate college showcase is coming up, and then issue that we've been dealing with as far as the stipends. So if the IDF, if you guys want to go first and talk about that, you don't have to move. You can talk about it from right there.
That's
I think everybody's supposed to hear.
You gotta go, don't you? You want to go?
I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
So at 4 o'clock, the IDF, we're going to be talking about the student technology. We're going to be submitting our rough draft to what we talked about. What they're going to do is start with the implementation of the iPads to the Department of Kinesiology. So we're making sure that the university now has a tech policy in place. The policy that has been worked on is making sure that it's going to be program-based. So each program will have to depend on what technology that they need, but they need to offer it a wide enough range and research the options so that we're not sticking the students with one high-tech cost like a $600, $500 upfront cost of an iPad. So it'll start with the programs, they'll have to discuss it, they'll have to pass it through computer services to make sure that the building can help hold that many Wi-Fi connections. It'll also have to pass through accessibility, so vision impaired, blind, all the, that it can pass through that anyone that doesn't have the abilities to be able to keep up with the class to go against our policies that the university also has. So that's pretty much the final version that we're getting ready to pass today. And hopefully we'll get some more feedback from the faculty senate about what our next steps are going to be. Good? Any questions?
How long do they think the approval process will take once this is ready?
They have to let students know, I believe, every fall semester. So if they miss it in that first fall semester, they'll have to take an entire year. We hope to implement it into the SOAR program as well, giving incoming students a heads up of what programs that devices they may need to purchase.
So if a program wants to propose a device and they submit whatever form or whatever it's going to be, will they know back in 3 weeks?
No,
3 months?
it'll be closer to 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months to
Yes.
approve the request.
Because it still has to go through computer services and other hurdles for it to pass.
Well, that would be good for them to know that they need to put it in that far ahead of time. Plus, if they need to get the students advance notice, you're really talking about a year ahead.
With as much research that each program will probably have to do before they can pass something like this, it's going to take a very long time. But it's at least a policy in place, I think, overall to protect the students. That, you guys will find out, oh, next semester we all have to own iPads and an Android device in the class. So.
Are they going to be implementing literature on security?
I believe computer services are going to be addressing that issue.
Okay.
Because they have a new report going to be coming out later this month addressing on-campus Wi-Fi, especially with the bring your own devices and smartphones that students and faculty are bringing on campus.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people here on campus that bring a laptop, a tablet, and a smartphone and connect all three to Wi-Fi at one time.
I try to limit it to 2.
Was there any discussion about if something is approved that the bookstore would carry that reduced prices?
They are talking and looking into leasing options, also refurbished options, so a little cheaper options for students, but that's a lot of licensing and
And maybe you can find anything online cheaper than you can find it at the bookstore, even at a discount.
we're still giving students the option to choose between ebook or used books. there hasn't been much discussion in the panel about things outside of the bookstore, we'll say that. Because the main purpose of having a bookstore is that the money goes back into the campus, and they don't want to talk about alternatives from that. So,
Right.
we all already know the alternatives, so. We've been students long enough. So.
You mean I have to buy that song? I can't just download it?
Mhm. So,
Yeah.
okay, anything else? Great.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, and hope the meeting goes well. And then, IDF. Matt?
Be talking about it. Essentially, the IDF committee has met once. We'll be meeting 2 more times during the month of November, and we're gearing up to crafting a proposal of our recommendations for the interdisciplinary forum that's coming up in April. Essentially, we are going to craft that proposal in committee, approve it in committee, and then bring it to the next general meeting to have the senators vote on it, and then we'll be passing it on to Dr. Tomasi as our recommendations for this year. Overall, we're trying to basically increase possible turnout and increase options for students, options that were limited last year because of specific reasons. And overall, we want to just make as many people engaged if they want to take a chance in the event. That's about it.
Anybody have any questions by IDF?
What do you mean option? I'm not familiar with the one thing we're talking about doing, for example, we do like an oral presentation, or you can do a poster presentation. And one thing that we talked about, and I don't know if you want to expand on this, but maybe having some kind of creative option for students who maybe are art focused or music, and to try to accommodate to more programs because they're not involved at all, but they do excellent work. So if we can maybe have an art exhibit, maybe have music playing, some music students playing in some way, stuff like that, to just open it up to anyone who does excellent work.
And previously, the IDF has always, quote, accepted juried performances. I don't think we've ever had a juried performance be submitted as an abstract to the IDF from the information that I got. Maybe Dr. Tomasi would know.
Yeah.
We've had people read their works.
But that's about it. We haven't really expanded on that. And also, talking about increasing options, last year we had a limited number of slots for oral presentations. So a portion of the people who wanted to do oral presentations were not accepted to do them. They were offered to do poster presentations because we had more room in that. And part of our proposal is to increase the preferences so that students will have the option, if they want to do an oral presentation, that they don't have to settle for doing a poster presentation.
Sounds good.
Any other questions?
As far as the library services issue, I have been corresponding, Cheryl and I have been corresponding with Dean Peters, and he is very open to opening up a dialogue, basically, to have a section of the library that's open for graduate students only. The problem that was brought to us is basically that sometimes you go to the library even at like peak hours or whenever, and there's not room, you know, for graduate students to have like maybe a conference room to, you know, work together on projects if you happen to do that in your program, or just area specifically that's not taken up by the other students. I know that we're a minority on the campus, so specific, you know, privileges for us have been extended before. For instance, You go to the library, you can check out a book for 6 months because they know you got to do research. Acknowledging that is some of the areas that we're trying to accommodate. And another idea I've had is because I've almost run out of, you know, money on my account for printing off research because I just in some of you were in similar situations. We might need a little boot up on you know, like $20 more or something like that, just so we can print off all these, you know, 20 or 30 page research papers that our, you know, professors need us to, you know, either present or read or talk about or use in our research. So that's another issue that I've been talking about, but Dean Peters is going to come to our next meeting. And so over the course of the next month, we might send out some emails and, you know, try to get some ideas. If you have ideas right now, I'd be willing to take them. But if you want to think about it for a while, as far as what you want to see in the library, as far as just having a section that's, you know, just cut out for us, a specific room for graduate students, maybe where they can work together, or maybe a system where we can get us specific hours and sign up for it ahead of time, then I'm all willing to hear that, because I just want to hear the best ideas so we can all present that to Dean Peters. But yeah, he's very willing to work with us, and you know, that's basically my report on that. But you guys have any questions, suggestions, or ideas maybe that we can start putting together for that? If you want to think about it, shoot me an email any way you want. So, Dr. Swanson.
I suggest if you're going to try to get a space over there, that you make it, you find out whether you can have it 24/7, or is there certain periods of the day or week, in case they're not willing to say, we're going to just not let anybody else in, the graduate students. They say we can't afford to do that. And you may be able to say, well, how about if we do it from 7 p.m. to midnight on a weekday, or you know, something like that. Because they're going to have one issue will be how do they maintain it. Other than putting up a sign, how do you keep undergraduates out of there, or you have to go check out the key, or you know, something that helps them enforce it, but it also takes their time.
We got a little background on that too, because I used to be the part-time staff supervisor in circulation at the library when I was an undergrad and post-undergrad. Part of the issue is this circulation's job to do that, and the staff, who's ever on staff there, if you have a problem with somebody in a room or they're one person occupying a room, it's up to circulation to actually execute and defend that policy. So that will probably be the way. I don't know how Dean Peters, because I was used to both Dean Horney and Dean Mackey, who were previous two deans. And so we'll have to find out how Dean Peters wants to do that, and if he wants it to be circulation's job. But that's a good point, and that's something that we'll have to take into consideration and discuss. And I know that they're going to have 24 hours during finals week, and so that will probably be a 24/7 period. You know, that maybe we can do that, but otherwise it might have to be specific hours. Otherwise.
Another thing when we have this dialogue with Dean Peters is something that we're going to have to be on guard about is if we put in this request to do it. I know from his mindset, are we actually, by isolating this space in the library for specifically graduate students, are we decreasing its usage because it's for us? And then we also have grad students who want to go home because maybe they're older, they have families, maybe and children, and they don't come on campus, they don't stay on campus as much as some of us do. And so in reality, it may be a decrease in the uses of the space, when otherwise it would be that way. So that's, I know, one thing in particular that he mentioned that we're going to have to be able to respond to him with.
Oh, well, with that, I was just going to suggest, like, maybe we could do graduate students have priority over undergrad, so they can still use it, but if a graduate student comes along with a group and needs to, that space, they could, you know, ask them for undergrads to leave, or they have the opportunity to call in and make reservations, because right now the library doesn't do that. So as graduate students, we could just be able to book times in advance.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons why I would say that it would have to be like a sign up or something like that. Like we can even figure out a way with the exec board, we got to figure out a way to sign up online and maybe even have that as an option where you can say, well, we have this room scheduled for such and such time. And so that could be a way we can work that out. And other graduate students could go on and see when the room is being scheduled. This is just a rough idea.
Yes, they do it with Zoom.
Yeah? Okay.
They did.
Jay?
I was a student circulation supervisor during undergrad too. I have about 50 or 60 books checked out. Something we can anticipate with this discussion with the dean is the graduate carols we already have. We'll want to go on data on that to see, are these graduate carols being used? Is there like a long waiting list? I myself have applied, and I have a graduate carol on the 3rd floor that I share with three other students. And I have a key to that room, so no one else can get in there. It's a space just for graduate students. If we want to expand beyond that, is there a way that we can use those spaces more efficiently? Is there a big space that can, because these carols are very small.
Of course.
But yeah, we'll want to have data on the demand. How long is their waiting list? I know a lot of people apply, maybe not everyone gets it, but maybe no one applies.
There's a long waiting list. I actually did ask, on that same train of thought.
Yeah.
Waiting list is long. Sometimes people wait on the list and never get on it. You're here for 2 years or something if you're going full time, and longer if you're doing it part time. And the problem is we share that with faculty also.
Right.
And so, like, the nature of being a graduate student is you're doing research. Some people never get into those carols because there's 6 of them, I believe. And so 3 to, a carol, 18 people, 4, what's that?
Yeah,
There's 4 of them. Okay, so less.
Yeah.
And I was just shooting that number off the top of my head. But yeah, there's less. So that's one of the problems. And there might be a way where, because I know there's plenty of room in the library. There's space in places. And what I can imagine happening, if there were research materials or things that a graduate student needed to leave at the library because it was just too much to carry, and that's where he did the primary bulk, I would think that reference would be a good spot, maybe to hold research materials for students so that we could check them in and then check them out with maybe our ID. And that would be a way where we wouldn't have to transport things all the time. So if you just need to do research, then that would be an effective way for you to keep things there. While circulation can keep track of who has rooms, scheduled for whenever. But there's a couple rough ideas off the top of my head. I don't know how that sounds. It might sound stupid to other people, but yeah.
Sounds like you're describing the lockers like they have in the entrance of the bookstore, where you can store things temporarily, but you're the only person who can access them.
Yeah, it would be a similar, and it's like we could, in circulation, we kept track of like, okay, this is such and such books, when they come get them, it would be no more task than that, because if you have research materials you want to leave even your own outside of the library, they're all stamped, they'd be able to keep up with them, they'd be able to keep them cornered off so nobody else can get to them, so it would be a perfectly safe thing to do. And trust me, there's faculty that have like 10 to 20 books that come in and are checked out through Mobius and Swan and other systems. So, I don't think it would be a difficult thing. We just have to come up with a structure to present to the dean. So, anyone have any other ideas or Jay?
This just comes to my mind because I've had several conversations with the, I can't remember his title, but the coordinator of the Bear Wall, the Learning Commons there with the writing.
Mike Frizzell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a very possibilities-oriented person, and I know that he would even say there's lots of space in the Bear Wall. I don't know if it's like segmented off enough, but that might be a possibility that we could.
I was thinking about that too. I was thinking because I hadn't really gone over there, and I haven't talked to him since the beginning of the semester. But that was one of the ideas I had, and you know, maybe somebody here knows more about that than me. I'm glad you brought that up because it sounds like a good idea.
I've been talking to him about trying to get a speech lab. I'm from the communication college, and
Yeah.
I'd like there to be a speech lab for students in public speaking to practice their speeches in
Yeah.
the Bear Club. And that's something completely different. But so I get the sense that there's possibilities. He wants to continue to develop, you know, the Bear Club and offer as many services to students as it can fit.
Yeah. Well, and that would be a good possibility too, is doing it through Bear Claw. So, yeah, I'm totally with that. So, anybody else? Any ideas, suggestions? Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that I get you guys' voices heard. And like I said, we'll be trying to construct a proposal. We'll send out emails and make sure it's a very structured proposal. And if anybody has any criticisms of it, you know, be sure to let us know, because I want all the ideas to come out and be ironed out. I don't want it to sound stupid when I say it. So, next, let's see, we have follow-up to the GA versus the Williams plan. Okay. Well, we talked about this, the GAs versus student workers on makeup days. And since the GAs are contracted and get a salary every month, and the student workers get paid minimum wage, and basically they, you know, it's just a different structure. So when you get the salary, you're expected to work a certain amount of days because that's how they proportion that out. And for student workers, it's not going to be the same because they get paid hourly. And so when they're off, they're not getting paid, and they don't have any added benefit. Whereas there's some, I wouldn't call it financial security and stuff, but you have somewhat, you know what you're dealing with. It's a fixed income, and it's not a fixed income for the student workers. And for people that Cheryl and I engaged with on, you know, talking about this, researching this issue, that was the main difference in, you know, the difference between GAs and student workers. And also, for those of you who are here, the Graduates College Showcase on November 14th, just make sure that your program has people there from 3 to 7, whether it's going to be you or someone else. Just make inquiries about it, because you want to make sure that your program is well represented, because, you know, one of these undergrads around here could be, you know, they can need to hear what you have to say about the program in order to come into the graduate college. So that's going to be a very fundamental thing. Does anybody else have any questions or anything to add to that?
What day did you say?
It's going to be November 14th, and it's from 3 to 7 p.m.
And if you want to get involved, speak with your program director specifically.
Yeah, what he said. And then, stipends, I will let you talk about that.
Okay, I'll be brief. We talked a great deal about any graduate student who has an assistantship. So Dr. Tomasi and I were shooting emails with each other. And so instead of talking with the chief financial officer, we'll have to address that issue with payroll. It seems from an outside looking in very simple, and Brett and I will be involved with this. We've talked about it as well. He's the VP for finance. And this will probably happen sometime in November, and by the next meeting, we'll report to you and give you an update of what's happened. Does anyone have any questions that we may want to address with payroll, financial services? No? Yes?
Is the primary goal to get paid, or are there other auxiliary goals?
Well, the only goal I had in mind was for all graduate students who have an assistantship to get paid in both August and May instead of one and not the other. That was it. Is there anything else you would like to add to that? We have senators from the audiology department. Is there anything y'all want to add to that issue?
I don't have an assistantship, so.
And before that actually takes any changes have been implemented, I that at least they want to make this change, because they could be perfectly fine with how it is, not getting paid in August and getting paid in May, or getting paid in August and not getting paid in May. But I'll do a poll, probably SurveyMonkey or Zoomerang, something, asking that simple question. But by our next meeting, you guys will get a follow-up.
Could we do half and half, like half
That's
the
the
pay?
goal.
Okay.
Let's go.
Not just like not getting paid in May, but half paid, half in August.
That's our goal. You have anything for you, man? Just next.
No, but I think it'd be helpful if we got examples of the extraordinary differences, like in the GAs, like if we had like 2 examples, I think, just to show them, offhand, instead of the payment, just to have that.
You mean when you say extraordinary examples? You
Like,
mean,
just so you can show them, just like examples, because I don't
It's
understand
like,
how
this is how poor I am now.
Right, like,
I love the statistics. I can't just give qualitative information. I think a very important quantitative stat to include is that I don't stay on campus. So with that in mind, I pay some type of rent for wherever I stay off campus. So just that alone should be enough validation. But there's other things to
No,
include as
obviously,
well.
just get examples like from those, because I don't know what you're talking about. So like when I go talk to them, like I want to know the different payments. Because my GA doesn't start until the spring, so I don't know. Like what I'm saying. Like,
We
I don't
get paid
know.
at the end of the month, every single month except for August.
And is that-
and June and July.
Which means,
You're waiting for
Which
August
means
and then
that we
all
don't get
September.
paid until the end of September, after we've already worked for most of August and all of September.
2
So we
months
have-
essentially. We
yeah,
worked
have-
2 months before we even got paid.
Rent payments and utilities.
And is
for
that
August.
different? The differences in each one of them is that by school? Like, are they different for
I
the
think it's
different
graduate
grades?
college money.
Is it? See, that's what I'm trying
the
to figure
only
out
one
what
that's
the
on it.
differences are. Maybe they have a reason. I don't know.
The only one that's on a different pay schedule is Res Life.
They're on a different work schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different.
But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this because I'm trying to get this new GA they're talking about making too. So I mean, it's a really interesting issue because I can only imagine going, 2 months, basically 2 months without getting paid.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to worry about money while you're doing all this great stuff in graduate school.
And if you work somewhere else, I mean, for example, I went to the university over the summer, so I had a paycheck reference number from the university. But I can't be a university worker and and have my teaching position. So I
Right.
had to stop that, get my last paycheck from that in August 1, basically, and then wait 2 entire months to get paid again. So
Yeah.
and
And this actually goes back to the GA issue about making up days and stuff because it's a mutual contract. Because if you're going to be working a certain amount of days and get expected to get paid, then it makes no difference if you get paid up front or before what the schedule is now because you still have to work those days in that time. And so it's just basically benefiting the person who's being the assistant. And then they're just going to be working the same amount of hours anyway. So we're not talking about fundamentally changing the contract. What we're talking about is supplying the person who's working the contract with a little bit more security. So, this is a big issue, I think, for anybody because, your program runs with assistants, that you're in, even if you're not. And, professors and stuff, I mean, they can tell me if they want to operate without without GAs, TAs, and RAs and whatnot. So,
Yeah, when you think about it, we
It's not
play an
ever.
integral role because essentially, compared to other institutions that I've been to, when you think about it, do the work of what a full-time professional would do. I know particularly in my office where another institution, maybe an assistant director would be doing. So, that's
What's the spring semester? I'm a GA, but forget how we get paid for January, February. When do we get paid? Is it at the end of February or do we get paid at the end of January?
Are you on a contract for the whole academic year?
Yeah.
Then you'll get paid every month, the end of each month, from September around July.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Is anybody here that's hired just for the fall? which will be February, March, April, May. So
So
same training
you'll get to
session.
experience
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
You'll be working- You'll work for 6 weeks before you get your first paycheck.
Solidarity, brother.
Right.
And if,
But nobody complains that they get a whole paycheck in May, you know, and they work for half the month.
right.
Right,
But
but,
if you're willing to give that up in order to get some more earlier pay,
Yeah.
half the month in August.
I think.
and that's my
I'm gonna
point.
have to
It's,
wait.
it's about fundamentally not changing the contract, but just trying to provide extra security. Because hey, if we work half in May, we're not working anymore. It's just pay us for, you know, half of that and pay the half in August. So.
Have they said a reason why they are paying in September, or is it just?
I don't know, I don't know, but I hope what I gain from this, even if the answer is no, we're gonna keep it how it is as long as I get a justification, and then pass it on to you guys, and then other GAs, then I'm satisfied. That's
and we had talked
completely
about
different.
that a little bit in terms of, it's just when the university cuts its checks.
Right.
Like,
It's
so
just how it's been done.
It's not designed for the convenience of the GA, it's designed because that's convenient for the university.
Yeah.
And if that's the reason, that's the reason.
There are things that are flexible because SGA right now is trying to move to drop day. And I'm interested in this because it benefits graduate students for your classes, because we usually only have one class before drop day. This would give us an additional class, even though I don't think graduate students tremendously have this problem because most of us are in tracks where we have to take that class. So.
But it's better than I can.
Right, but also for some people, you know, like we have in my program, in my department, we have 2 programs, and sometimes people end up becoming, you know, think they wanted to be an MGS and go to an MPA, and vice versa. So that gives them an option, you know, because you know they might decide, well, this is not for me, but I want to stay in this department and change programs. This is for flexibility and for future purposes. If your department has more than one track or something like that, you know, or you're in communications, you're not interested in being in, you know, a certain type of, you know, whatever tracks you guys have. So whatever program you're in, I think it just provides flexibility. So just to have one extra class to say, I'm not for this or whatever. So
Talking about at the beginning of the semester?
Beginning of the semester.
The date at which you can drop anytime.
well, I know you can drop it anytime. They're trying to do the basically the full refund for.
Extend the full refund.
Extend the full refund.
Okay.
So it doesn't affect you monetarily. So
I think they're not gonna like what actually happens when they do that though.
Yeah, 'cause you're gonna get your loans to be.
I'm not.
Yep, that's it.
I'm not saying it's you know going to happen. I'm just saying I'm interested in it. We're finding out what the wiggle room is in it. So I mean, it's mostly the SGA heading it up. So I'm just interested in it, and as one of the co-presidents of this organization, I'm keeping track of it. So you know, if there's something to be said about it, then for graduate students, then I'll be there to say it. Old business, Brett Tanaka.
Yay, Brett.
Okay. And we had a different vice president, or we didn't have a vice president of finance last meeting, so he is our new vice president of finance. Been with us a few weeks now, and you know, and I just wanted to introduce him. I don't know if you have anything to say.
Of course he does.
We moved the accounts. We're moving that to the credit union across the street because we were in a business account and it was charging us $5 a month. And since we only have we had like $100, we would have no money at the end of the month. So we're moving that one out. We're moving that one and do a different one that doesn't have a fee. And I almost thought we should have a money jar just because it's pointless. But yeah, we have like $90-something when we move it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the issue that we're going to work on later, after we get some of the things that we need to work on, like IDF and stuff out of the way, we're going to find out about how we can get more money for graduate students to use that might be outside of the SOFAC system, you know. So that's something we will be discussing, and I think maybe we'll come up with some proposals for.
What program are you in? What graduate program are you in?
I'm in the MBA program.
Yeah, so we got a business guy working on finances. I can live with that. So, yeah. Well, I think that's all you wanted to say. You want to go for this part?
Yes,
What's
let's
your thing?
talk about our constitution. So we made some tweaking, and we can't make the changes official until the senators approve it. So I'm gonna go through the changes that we made in our constitution, and you all can tell me if you would like to add something, or if you have a question about something. So we were formerly known as the Graduate Student Council, so it's changed to, our name is Graduate Student Senate. We've added the gender identity and or sexual orientation to our non-discrimination clause. And far as the selection of senators, basically this is saying the program directors can help with the selection process or just appoint if there is no selection in place. You all satisfied with that? Michael, do you want to
No, what I suggest though is you just tell us all the changes.
I don't
and
really know
then-
them by heart without highlighting.
And then real quick, we don't have a quorum really, so what we're gonna have to do is take a vote online, and we're gonna send this out to all the senators, and we'll see what the vote comes out to. Well, that's the purpose of this, and that's why we structured it like that, because I knew that not everybody was gonna be able to make meetings during the weeks and stuff, especially, I can imagine, I know what I got to do. I know you guys are busy, so, we're gonna send this online, and everybody can just vote on that, so just make sure you check your email. And, if you don't, then I'll probably end up dogging you about it, just giving me a vote, yes or no, if you approve the changes. If for any reason you object, for instance, I'm the one to put that gender identity and sexual orientation. If you don't agree with me and you just want to say no on the terms of that basis, then you feel more than free to, because I want you to vote your conscience and vote what you think is right. I do believe in a democratic system, and that's why I'm going to give everybody a chance to vote on this online. So yeah, Cheryl, if you can just run through the changes, and then we'll just try to conduct them online so we can have a quorum for it. So.
The term of office, basically each senator will serve 1 year unless you're graduating within that, whichever semester, maybe the first semester, then it's up to you all to come up with, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? A replacement senator.
Replacement, yeah.
And this talks about when elections will take place at the end of spring semester before the term of officers in the new academic year. Emeritus officers may serve as an advisory role, and William Cooper plays this role for us. The VP for communication will oversee our website. The duties of the vice president for fundraising, or for finance, sorry. I know, Brett, that you told me you didn't like this.
I just feel like it'd be more of a group effort than me going door to door on raising money.
I only
feel
put
like
this
it'd be
just in
fair.
case, like, you had ideas yourself.
Yeah.
So not necessarily literally going to door with a jar.
Yeah, like the head of
You could say
committee for
coordinating
fundraising.
fundraising.
I mean, I could
Yeah.
coordinate it. I just don't want to end up being the person that.
And I want to explain what would happen, and
Does that make sense?
yeah. What would happen is, like, for instance, in the IDF committee, Liz is the chair, so she's in charge as far as senators go, but the executive that's answerable to me is Matt, to me and Cheryl, that is. And so Matt is the person that Liz goes to if they need something from the executive board, but she's the one that runs the meetings and coordinates things. They work together to do these.
We kind of just, it's nice to have, we kind of just
They're-
work together to get things
they're
done.
equal.
Yeah.
But like I said in the first meeting, the whole purpose of being in an organization like this, because everybody's busy, is for you not to have too much on your plate and for us to continue to get things done for the graduate students while you have all your coursework and everything. That's why Cheryl and I are both co-presidents. We are equal. We both have an equal say in like running our executive board and everything. And sometimes there's days I can't do stuff and there's days that she can't do stuff. And so we trade off on responsibilities of leading the group. And so that would be the same idea if Brett was to come up with a idea. We would probably appoint a chair, have a committee for fundraising, and then Brett would be the person that would oversee on exec, but there would be a chair for it, so.
Yay or nay? Yay. Okay. This is basically talking about special elections. If there's a vacant position with any of our vice presidency positions, really essentially kind of how Brett came into being. We had a vacant position with our VP for finance. He became the interim VP, and then it was official. So Michael and I appointed Brett as an interim VP to fill the role, the vacant role.
And because we don't have a quorum, we actually do have to have an election, so that's something that people will have to vote on. I don't think anybody will be opposed to it, but I still formally have to do that along with the voting for the Constitution, so that would probably also go out, you know, and we'll probably have a little detail about Brett, but other than that, I think everybody would approve it. I just couldn't imagine why not, but you know, it still has to be done. So.
I lost to the other person, so I don't know.
There is no other person. So, you know, unless we're going to Clint Eastwood him and stuff and let him lose to a chair or something, then, you know,
No, I ran the first time.
he should be fired. So, but there it is.
The other sections, SOFAC representative, SGA senators, assessment council representative, these are kind of new positions. I don't know if there was a SOFAC representative a year ago. Was there, Matt?
Yes and no.
Okay, well, this officer basically just acts as a liaison between this organization and SOFAC. So their presence is on SOFAC, which stands for Student Organization Funding Allocation Council. SGA senators, this is you all, 2 senators represented from each graduate program. Assessment council representative, I think Brian is on that. Even though this council doesn't know what they're assessing.
Right.
But it's for university assessments. Yes, Dr. Tomasi.
Do you have a feeling that that's going to be a permanent
This right here?
kind of situation, that they'll want somebody every year, as opposed to?
We had almost.
You don't want to put things in here that aren't going to be a regular thing. You can always put a note that says, you know, further membership on various councils across the.
And there is already that.
Appointed by the co-president as need arises, so that you can't have a miscellaneous thing. If you think that's going to be a permanent deal that every year they'll want a grad student, then you can do it like that.
Are you talking about with SOFAC or?
SOFAC and the SGA have been long-standing
Okay.
things.
The assessment?
Assessment one's new, so I just don't know what the plan is for that council.
Yeah, since everybody's so busy too, like I actually chose myself to be the SGA senator for the organization because I have free time this semester to do it. But a lot of these things we're going to have flexibility. For the assessment council, Matt sent me an email, or it came from Dr. Tomasi and then Matt, and then I had almost no information on when this was meeting, or I was like, well, how am I supposed to appoint somebody if I don't know what time they're meeting?
It's kind of a Keystone Cops moment.
Yeah. It's like I really didn't know what to do because we all have schedules, and it's like if you work off of a schedule and you do it, that's a parameter for picking a person or appointing a person. So I didn't really know what to do, but somebody had some availability, Brian. So we did that. But sometimes they ask us for things that we almost have no information on, and that's where we're kind of making an executive call. So, and I really didn't even pick the person. The person came up and was like, I can do it. And I was like, okay. And, it happened between, me and Matt. So yeah, that was that situation.
Amendments to the Constitution. Any voting member may propose a change. Michael and I are not voting members, so if you have an idea you would like to include or you think something is missing in our Constitution, you can make that some type of proposal. The procedure must be submitted to the exec board as 1 week prior to our meeting of a regular GSS meeting. A minimum of 15 voting members must be present. Unlike the situation today, there are not 15 voting members present, so we'll do something online, an online vote. Ratification, this Constitution, it'll be fully ratified once submitted and approved to the Office of Student Engagement as well as the Student Government Association. So Just know that something will be sent to you, and then very soon, about approving the amendments to this Constitution.
And Mr. Tanaka also.
Lastly,
That's important.
on the new business, are you all okay and comfortable with still meeting on Tuesdays? Would you like to move it up to the first Tuesday of each month as opposed to the last Tuesday of each month, or the second Tuesday? Doesn't really matter.
I think the big question is going to be from the people who aren't here rather than the people who are here.
So our next meeting is.
To be honest.
So our next meeting, we'll talk about next semester's time meetings. Okay, cool.
Sorry, maybe asking that in a survey that you're already sending out, like what time you think necessary.
Yeah, to vote.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I was looking at, I haven't even done my schedule for next semester, not that I'm worried the class is going to fill up, but I have a problem because there's 2 classes that I have to take on Tuesday that start at 4 o'clock. You know, that's just one of the things about being in grad school. So, you know, I would like if you can move meetings to Wednesday or Thursday, but that might not work out for everybody. But like I said, there's a reason there's 2 co-presidents and a reason why we're doing meetings online, because we're trying to do our best to make sure we can facilitate. Even if you're not here, I still want your input, because I know you're not here because, you know, you don't care, you're just too busy. So, I mean, I understand it, so.
We'll keep that on the agenda for next meeting. Some announcements that we have: PSGSA, the Political Science Grad Students Association, they're having an election watch party / potluck on November 6th, 9:30 in Strong 300. Again, the showcase is November 14th from 3 to 7 p.m. in the PSU. The International Banquet and Show, that's November 17th at 6. Well, you can read this, but that's a cool thing to get involved with. Various countries, a lot of students representing various countries on campus, undergrads and grads, will cook, I think, a certain dish from their country.
There's going to be dancing, there's going to be cooking, the main 2 things. So you're going to see dances, and my girlfriend is actually performing a Greek dance for it with her father, and she's doing a belly dance for it. So, I mean, with a Moroccan student. So that's going to be very interesting. And I forget the cost for tickets, but you have to contact AIS, and you can, I think, buy them maybe in the box office. I've always been in AIS, so I've always gone to the shows for free, so I kind of forget. Well, I was part of AIS, so I mean, sue me. So, but yeah, you're going to get food from different cultures and dancing from different cultures. If you missed the years where we had groups of students from Barbados, ladies, you would got a kick out of that. And then the next GSS meeting is going to be November 27th, 3:30 to 5, here it's in the auditorium. We are talking about also moving our meetings to the Senate room in PSU maybe next semester if we happen to move the time of the meeting, and then it'll be a much, especially warmer environment. You know, have some of you might be cold.
That's just character.
Yeah, I know. So I understand that.
If there's anything that you wish to add to our agenda, I know the questions regarding why GAs have to make up time as opposed to student workers. Michelle submitted questions, and we'll do our research and present it to you the next meeting. So we have an email address, gradsstudentsenate@missouriState.edu. Send it there, and we'll do some homework and present it to you for our next meeting. Does anyone else have an announcement that they'd like to make?
If anyone wants,
Go ahead.
if anyone wants to join the IDEA committee, speak to either myself or Liz after the meeting.
Not you.
What were you saying, Liz?
I just said we want you, everybody wants to come.
I'll come to a meeting.
And I'm in that committee too, and they're in charge, so.
I'll come to any committee meeting.
Since there's a lot of apparently grad assistants here, you may have heard, or maybe you haven't, that it's been approved to get a 2% raise
That includes
starting in
us.
January, including graduate assistants.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, that's not a lot of money. You might see your income go up 20%
first. That's what. Hey,
$20 is $20.
that could be, that's
That
a,
boost me up, like.
that could be an electric bill right there. Especially if you're very frugal about it. There you go, city utilities. That's my 2%.
Yay. I can't think of anything else, but.
I can't either. But thank you guys for coming and for voicing your input and everything. And if you see any other senators, talk to them. Just encourage them to come to the next meeting. Hopefully, everybody will have a lot more time at the end of November because.
Dean Peters is
Yeah,
coming.
well, they're after, and Dean Peters will be coming, so we do want to have a good attendance for that. You know, have a forum to, you know, basically talk about our proposals and improve it, so. But,
On the website.
what's that?
The date of the next meeting on the website already.
Brian would probably be the person to know that, but.
Date and time for the next meeting, is it on the website yet?
Yes.
I mean, our
All
meetings,
graduate students.
yeah, our meetings are open to the general population of graduate students. So tell them if they want to come.
Very good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I like your wall.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Downtown.
Yeah, at my buddy Brian, he owns that
Is
store.
that right?
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of cool stuff in Moby Dick one and.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I've got this jacket from there too. So it's one of my favorite stores. So. AJ, what's up, buddy?
Tell me your name. I know you're with.
I didn't make it.
Earth Communications.
Crazy.
I don't know, man. I know.
I've been banging my head against.
I agree with what you're saying about the,
now.
Yeah.
changing.
Well, stuff that I haven't really been able to get anything going yet. The one test that I need is kind of like a